So in this series, we're going to go over how to create an avoidance game. Here's an example of an avoidance game. You have a player that's at the bottom of the screen, and you're able to move that player back and forth. Enemies come down from the top of the screen, and the enemies can fire upon you or just come down from the top of the screen. And you're able to shoot your weapon or your bullets at the enemy and kill the enemy. You can have different levels, we can keep score, and we can learn some good programming practices along the way. So let's get started. So the first thing that we're going to make is our player object. So our player right now looks like a small stick figure. So let's start with a new flaw document. We'll go over here, we'll choose ActionScript 3.0, and we'll choose the width to be 800 and the height to be 480 pixels. And in this way it'll work well on our mobile devices. We can leave it at 24 frames per second. We'll press OK. Control minus to zoom out. So we can make our player object look however we want at first and then go back and modify him. So I can even make him a rectangle and go back and modify him. So I'll make my player object. I'm going to double click on my player object, and then I'll F8, or if I'm on a Mac I will right click and say convert to symbol. I will name him player, and then I'll export for ActionScript. Remember that this makes a new class file for me called player. Press OK, and voila, we have a player object. I'm going to go ahead and delete that instance from the stage. It does not delete it from my library. Now, very importantly, another thing that I would like to do is save this file. Remember that you want to save all of your files for your game inside of one folder. Call it like Avoider Game. So I will save him. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to start writing our code. So I'm going to make a .as file to put all of my ActionScript in. An easy way to create that is I'll come over here to properties for my flaw file I just created. And I can make my .as file. Remember that this is where we link that AS file to our flaw file. So this is very important that we have this here. And if we press on the little pencil here, the pencil icon, and we haven't created it yet, it will create it for us, and it'll ask us if we'd like to open it with Flash Professional or Flash Builder. We'll just choose Flash Professional for right now. We'll press OK. I'm going to name mine Avoider Game 2 because I already have an Avoider Game.as file. I'll go ahead and hit that pencil icon. Sometimes you have to hit the pencil icon twice to get it to open. And there's my avoider.as file. Now make sure that you save it. So Control S or Command S on a Mac. And save it in the same file folder where you saved your flaw file. Notice it's saved with a .as extension. And we'll go ahead and we'll save that. Now remember some things about your class. Your class always starts with a package. And you can always put comments here that this ends your package, this curly bracket. So that way we won't get our curly brackets mixed up. Then you have your import statements. Your import statements come after your package but before your class declaration. Then you have your class declaration. And remember that the extends movie clip is where we're inheriting from the movie clip class. We can put comments here that this is the end of our class declaration. And then very importantly, we have our constructor. This is our default constructor. It's our default constructor because there's nothing in the parentheses. So we can comment here, end of our constructor. Remember, this is the code that's run every time an instance of our game is created. So when our game starts, this is the code that's run. Alright, after your class declaration, but before your constructor, is where you place your instance variables. And the first instance variable we're going to make is our player. So we're going to make him a private var. We'll name him player. We always name our variables with a lowercase letter. We put a colon, and then we put what type of object he is, and he will be a player object with a capital P. Because remember, that's what we named our object in our flaw file, with a capital P. Here's where we declare our instance variables. So this is our variable declaration. And inside of our constructor is where we'll instantiate our variable. So we'll say player equals, or assign the value of, a new player object. And this is his constructor. Notice it's a constructor because it is the same name as our class, the capital letter. It's the only function you'll have that'll have a capital letter. And it's followed by parentheses, so we know that this is a constructor. Okay, after we've created our player object, we will then tell our player object his x and y values. So his x value is his horizontal value. So if I say stage.stage width divided by 2, he'll be in the middle of the stage. And then I'll make his y value, assign the value of stage.stage height. So he'll be as tall as my screen. And then very importantly, I have to add him to the stage by using the add child method. So I'll put add child player. I'll save that code. So Control S or Command S on a Mac. And I'll go ahead and run it and make sure that he does appear on the stage. Notice where he's appeared. He's appeared a little bit off the stage, and that's because of his registration point, where his registration point's at. And if I look at our player's registration point, it's in the middle of him. So when I said player equals stage.height, his registration point ended up at the bottom of our stage, so he ended up right there. So think about where you would put that registration point if you wanted your player to be at this point on your stage. And then start the next video.